Now let's get to these interesting professional categories. These are the categories that are decided by people of some kind who are not fan voters. They are presumably people who know about these things. But as someone who follows the Oscars, I'm not a filmmaker. I'm not a technician. My knowledge of these kinds of categories comes just from sort of advanced layman. So take my fretting with a grain of salt. But I feel like some of these were picked out of a hat. Let's start with the big one, which is Best Direction. You have the two obvious ones, I think, Formation by Beyonce and Hello by Adele. And since this is not a fan-voted category, I do think it will be one of those two. Then you've got Up and Up by Coldplay, Lazarus by David Bowie, and The Less I Know the Better by Tame Impala. If I'm pronouncing that, I never know if I'm pronouncing that name correctly. But those are the 5 nominees in that category. Formation is, could be such a juggernaut, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like Hello, I feel like this is a category Hello is going to take. What do you think?
Well, didn't Rolling in the Deep win this several years ago? I think it won this.
It did not win direction. It did win art direction, cinematography, and editing, but it did not win direction.
Okay. Yeah, I think this one should probably go to Adele or Xavier Dolan. It just seems like this is the perfect that place to reward it, and if it's going to be decided by like a blue ribbon panel, they'll definitely be drawn to that.
I do think the best other chance is Formation by Beyonce. I do think the VMAs, they do one good thing at least, or one helpful thing. When they nominate something for Video of the Year and it's up for direction, if they've also nominated it for Video of the Year, it usually wins direction, which would limit this to Beyonce and Adele. Not always, but Kendrick Lamar's All Right won Best Direction last year, and it was up for Video of the Year. So I do think it will be Adele or Beyonce. Beyonce, does have, Formation video does have the social relevance, though I do feel like in its structuring and the way it's assembled, it is a fairly typical music video kind of, cut to her and her dancers, and cut to this tableau, and cut to that tableau, and we see that a lot. So I do think the more cinematic storytelling, direct storytelling of Hello might take it here. Do you think anything else has a chance here, or is it just those two?
I think it's those two. I mean, we do see upsets sometimes, even with more well-known directors. I'll never forget Johnny Cash's Hurt, directed by Mark Romanek, lost to The Scientist by Coldplay. Another beautifully directed video, but still, I mean, that was really shocking.
I do think David Bowie's Lazarus has an outside chance at this. It does have a few other technical nominations, and it's haunting and unsettling in many ways. Not the least of which, of course, is because of his recent death. It's sort of like Johnny Cash. It does linger in a much different kind of emotional space. But I think if there is an upset that comes from that, I think, The Less I Know the Better video, which is nominated for nothing else, which is strange. It's nominated for Best Direction and not a single other category. It is the David Lynch of these VMAs. So I don't think it has a chance. I watched it. I didn't even like it. It's a weird kind of trippy teenage sexual anxiety. Kind of like Kanye West's Famous. I felt like it was trying harder to be edgy than it actually succeeded at being. Something like Formation is actually trying to get a point across, and Less I Know the Better just wasn't for me. But moving on to Best Art Direction, and this is a category that usually, this is the most name out of a hat category I've ever seen usually at the VMAs. This category this year, I think it's pretty solid. Like, I watch these videos and going like, I see why you nominated this. I see why you nominated this. Ironically, I did not see it as much in Adele's video or Beyonce's video. Beyonce's nominated for Hello. Beyonce's nominated for Hold Up. Adele for Hello. And then you've got Fergie with MILF Money, Drake with Hotline Bling, and David Bowie with Black Star. And I'm actually predicting Black Star in this video, in this category. They do often go in weird directions. They're not necessarily going to go straight down the line, BL or Beyonce. In these races, they've done strange one-off winners who weren't really up for many other awards or weren't really up in top categories. And that 10-minute clip of Black Star has such really evocative and varied and creepy art direction, specifically. And so I'm going to go with that here. Am I crazy? What do you think?
No, you're not crazy. I have it in number 2. I think I actually have Adele's Hello in my number 1 spot, because I think it might just sweep here. So that's why I'm going with that one. But I definitely think that's definitely a major player to watch out for, because it's so artsy. It's like begging for it, you know.
Yeah, and I'm kind of wondering why they nominated Beyonce's Hold Up here. It really doesn't hold up. In terms of the art direction, it feels, it's a really evocative video, but not for reasons that have anything to do with the sets or production design or setting or backdrop or even the tableaus. It's not really. It doesn't strike me as a really strong video for its art direction. So I'm kind of surprised they picked this one, even over Formation. I think I would have sooner picked Formation for its art direction than Beyonce's Hold Up. I do think I'm a little wary of Hotline Bling. Its sets are very simple, but they are very unique and dynamic. It's these sort of big glowing cubes with these glowing staircases that change color. And I don't know, when I think about the voters in these categories not really necessarily knowing why they're voting or what they're voting for, they might think, ooh, that's artistic, it changes color. I do remember a Janelle Monáe video, a really good video, won this category a few years ago with Eric Badu. It was mostly a black and white kind of motif video that I really didn't expect to win art directions. So if they're interested in the uses of color, Hotline Bling might have a chance there too. And MILF Money, those sets are actually quite fantastic, even though I'm not particularly keen on that video as a whole. It's a really, really dynamic piece of production design. What did you think of those other nominees?
I thought they were pretty good. I mean, the one that stood out to me was Lazarus, but I mean, not Lazarus, Black Star. But I could definitely not. Some of them weren't popping to me. So, while I respect the nomination, they weren't really popping for me. The other one, only other than Black Star, that was really popping to me was Hotline Bling.
Choreography is the next category. It's usually the easiest one for me. I usually watch the nominees in this category and I can pick it cold. Like 2 years in a row, it's like Chris Brown. It's like, oh, that video has the most dancing, so it wins. This year it's a little tricky. There are a few nominees that have significant amounts of dancing, but none of them feel dominant to me. The nominees here are Formation by Beyonce, WTF, Where They From by Missy Elliott featuring Pharrell, another Beyonce video, Sorry. I do not know how to pronounce FKA Twigs' video. It's M3LL155X. I don't know if the numbers are pronounced as letters, in which case it would be like Melissex. I don't know.
Yeah.
And the last nominee in that category is Delilah by Florence and the Machine. There are 3 videos in this category that have enough choreography just at all in them that I think they might have a chance, and that's Formation, WTF, and whatever FKA Twigs' video is called. I don't know. I'm actually very confused why they nominated Sorry here by Beyonce. It feels like there's the least choreography in that video of any of these nominees. Florence and the Machine.
Sorry by Bieber?
Oh, no, Sorry by Beyonce.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, they didn't nominate Bieber's Sorry, even though it is entirely dancing, which is kind of surprising. There's limited, or at least from my viewpoint, watching choreography and expecting to see some kind of dancing. It's very limited choreography in Sorry. And somewhat limited in Florence and the Machine's Delilah, though I can see why they picked that. It's very interesting, kind of contemporary dance in a hotel room, kind of motel setting. So it's it's unique, and I appreciate that nomination, actually. But I'm going to go with Formation. I think it has, the video, some of the most dancing. It's Beyonce. She's known for it. It's an iconic video already. I think it's not a slam dunk, I don't think, the way I thought it might be when I watched these. But I think I'm pretty confident it'll be Formation.
Same here, yeah.
What did you think of that FKA Twigs video? It's 16 minutes long. It starts as an old woman with like a flashlight on her head, like one of those sort of fish that has the bioluminescent lure on its head, and then she eats it. And then it's FKA Twigs, and she's a sex doll, and then she's pregnant, and then she's in the woods. I felt like this almost felt like watching, Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson, but creepier.
Insanely creepier. I did not know what I was watching. All I knew is that I needed a shower afterwards. It just it was so bizarre, and I could usually stomach a lot of that sort of stuff, but I was just like, this is pushing it. You're on notice, FKA Twigs.
See, I don't mind weird. FKA Twigs has been nominated at the VMAs before, and weird is interesting. It's fun. It breaks up the monotony. But I really feel like that video was 3 songs or 3 videos strung together. Like I was like, no, please stop after the first 7 minutes.
Oh, there's more?
Yeah, I kept pausing it like after the old woman part at the beginning, with the thing on her head. I clicked pause. I was watching on YouTube. I clicked pause to see on my television to see how much time was left, and I realized I'd only made it through 5 minutes, and I thought, I'm going to be here a while.
Strap in, boys. It's going to be a long night.
That's nominated in one other category we will get to a little later. But then next up, we've got Best Cinematography. There you've got Formation by Beyonce, Hello by Adele. Noticing a trend here. Those 2 videos seem to be popular. Lazarus by David Bowie, I Want to Know by Alesso, and Into You by Ariana Grande. The nomination for Into You by Ariana Grande kind of baffles me in this category. I don't know what they saw in this video that I thought exemplified great cinematography. This one feels like a name out of a hat one. This one to me feels easy. I feel like this is gonna be that beautiful sepia tone Adele. I don't see that blue.
No, we could just go to the next category because it's even if it doesn't win, it's like it has all the reasons why it should win. So that's why, it's so obvious. So yeah.
I'm a little concerned though, because Adele was also nominated for in this category for Someone Like You, which had that stunning black and white, and it didn't win. So I wonder if those MTV professional panel voters are actually going to clue into it. There's another black and white video that I do want to talk briefly about. I Want to Know by Alesso. As I was watching these videos, I thought that is the other video in this category that belongs here. Not just because it's black and white, but because it uses light so well. The sort of the theme of the video, the story of the video is you got a stuntman for Alesso. They're doing this big action sequence, and the stuntman is kind of neglected, even though he has got a crush on Alesso's girl. And it's a lot of huge, stunt work. I'm pretty sure the stuntman in the video was probably portrayed by an actual stuntman in the production. But I just thought it was a really lovely use of black and white.
Yeah, it was a very beautiful video.
Now, best editing, this is a baffling category to me. I didn't see anything especially unique about many of these videos. Again, you've got Beyonce and Adele, Formation and Hello again. Then you've got MILF Money by Fergie, Lazarus by David Bowie, and Into You by Ariana Grande. Again, Into You, not sure why it's here. Even Fergie's MILF Money, it's kind of frenetic, and there's a lot of editing in it, but it's not really especially unique editing. I didn't really feel like it was edited in a way that was innovative or in any way that I hadn't seen in 100 music videos before. Even David Bowie's Lazarus to a certain degree. I might have even picked Black Star over Lazarus for this nomination. So just by default, I think it's going to come down to Formation and Hello. Now you got Hello has the story, has the flashback structure. Those kinds of storytelling devices do often help with editing wins. Justin Timberlake, his Mirrors, also had a kind of similar style, and it won editing. But Beyonce wins editing a lot, more than you'd think. So I feel like I'm giving the slight edge to Formation here, even though I think it's one of those two.
I'm actually going to go with Formation in this one, because it's just sort of a trend, and it's very well put together. And that's one that I think that the tech branch, that whoever's voting for this specific tech branch will actually very much respond to.
And then you've got Best Visual Effects, and this is actually an interesting category that I really liked taking a look at these. These were Up and Up by Coldplay, which is also up for direction. The FKA Twigs video, M3LL155X. Adele, but this time for Send My Love to Your New Lover. Can't Feel My Face by The Weeknd. And Pillow Talk by Zayn, the One Direction expat. This category feels like it. I feel like it should be easy. I feel like it'll be Coldplay because they nominated it for Best Direction, and the video is just basically all visual effects. It's the foreground element of this video so much that if they nominated it for direction, they liked it that much. I feel like they're going to give it visual effects. What do you think?
No, I think so. I think so too. It's just it's the one that really just stood out to me. Of like when you watch it, you go, "Wow, that's really cool to look at." How did they do that? But sometimes they'll go in very weird directions. I'll never forget. Years ago, the band Korn, that tells you how old I am, had that video for Freak on a Leash, which was an amazing video, and the visual effects were so stunning to look at. And it lost to Garbage, one of my favorite bands, for their video for Special, which didn't have really any other nominations. So, you never know what to expect in these categories. But I do think that Coldplay, it's very striking, and the fact that it is nominated for directing, it should probably win here.
There's one other nominee in here, and speaking of other nominees that losing to a nominee that has no other nominations, the only other nominee that I feel like could really they could justify it is Pillow Talk, actually, by Zayn. I was watching that video and I'm thinking, oh, that's really interesting use of imagery and visual effects and CGI in that video. Not my favorite in this category, but I think definitely an interesting use of visual effects. It's one of those categories where I'm like, you've nominated it for exactly the right thing. And then there's the third one that I think is Can't Feel My Face, but I was watching that video and waiting for visual effects to happen. And I was like, wait, when do they show up? Then of course someone throws a lighter at him and he's on fire for like the last verse, which is nice, but I don't think it's not, no pun intended, it's not flashy enough. It's not showy enough. It's too simple. They're not doing enough with visual effects. I don't think if voters, a lot of times we talk about these kinds of categories, these technical categories, as the most visual effects, the most editing, the most that kind of thing. And if you're going with that, I don't think The Weeknd really has a shot at this, or Adele. That's basically just superimposing her over herself several times. So what did you think of the other nominees?
The Weeknd one, I just kind of find laughable, because it just seemed like the effect was so just standard. Like this was nominated for visual effects. I just was like, I had no idea what to make of that. I'm just trying to think. Remind me of some of the other nominees again, because I'm just drawing a blank right now.
There's Zayn's Pillow Talk, FKA Twigs, that weird 16-minute one, and Adele's Send My Love to Your New Lover. Okay.
The FKA Twigs one I thought was really, it was definitely interesting to look at, and was very, and its choice of where to use certain effects, it just had me like looking at the screen more closely, trying to see you know, what certain things were. Were they effects? Were they, you know, actual people being shot? The Zayn one I thought was really nice. Very surprised by it.
So we seem to be in agreement on visual effects and really quite a good many of these categories, which is always the thing that makes me worry the most.
And watch Adele and Beyonce win every single one.
Which then my predictions would be okay, because I'm predicting them to win a bunch. Let's talk a little bit about the history of the VMAs. What would you say your favorite video of the year winner is?
There have been some great ones over the years. Even though I didn't particularly care for the song, Jeremy by Pearl Jam was a great win, especially because it was also such a controversial video. When Hey Ya by Outkast won, that made me very happy, because it was up against things that were much more popular. But I gotta tell you, my favorite. Tonight by the Smashing Pumpkins, Virtual Insanity by Jamiroquai are also favorites. But my absolute favorite one, and anybody who remembers anything I've said in other things won't be surprised by this. Sledgehammer by Peter Gabriel is not just, I think, one of the greatest music video to ever win Video of the Year, but it is without a doubt to me it stands on its own, and it's still amazing to watch to this day. You know, there's a reason why it's the most rewarded video of all time. It's the most played video ever on MTV. Yeah, it's a great song, and that video is just pure joy to watch from beginning to end.
Yeah, that video is quintessential VMAs, and quintessential music video. It's you know, like when they make the AFI list of the top 100 music videos, which would be, I mean, you know, you only have about 30 years to choose from, 35 years to choose from at this point. Yeah, Sledgehammer is going to be the top. I mean, it's just so beautiful, so for its time, and even now it holds up, visually stunning.
And it was this amazing time when they were still experimenting of what you could do in a music video. You know, that's what was so interesting about, you know, the year before that, Dire Straits won for Money for Nothing, you know, and that was on the same level, you know, of just, you know, seeing what else can we do other than just having the artist singing the song, you know, and this weird, you know, just seeing what they could do. You know, and that's what I always love about music, about especially the 80s and the 90s. We don't see it so much now because there aren't as many outlets for it. But seeing them do that was quite something.
I actually think this era is probably, it might be the best era for music video, because in the past you were sort of, you know, I mean, you talk about there are not many outlets. I think there are like a million more outlets. Because, you know, so now you don't have to be constrained by what MTV will play, when they will play it, how often you'll get to see it. You can really experiment in ways, like you don't have the budgets for music videos the way we used to in the 80s and 90s, when music videos were such a huge part of music marketing. Not as much these days in the digital age. So they don't, you know, spend generally as much on videos. But, you know, there's so much more room for experimentation. I just complained about these long-ass videos, but you couldn't do a 16-minute video on MTV. You just couldn't. But FKA Twigs can do that, and she can put that on YouTube, and she can get, you know, several million views off of it because she has that outlet. And
Kanye West can put complete nudity in his videos, and
for whatever reason.
Well, for some people, it's just great. For others, it's kind of disturbing, but, you know.
but yeah, I do like this era for video. I do feel like more people are watching music videos now than ever did before, because now they don't have to wait for MTV to show them, which I do like. I'm looking over the list of...
Oh, so I was just about to ask, what's your favorite winner of the coveted Video of the Year?
Well, I probably got to agree with you on Sledgehammer, but looking down this list, I also really liked, what else did I like? Scrolling. I do preparation for these things, by the way. Bad Romance was a good winner. Losing My Religion was a great winner.
That was a great one. Actually, that was what I was thinking to myself when I was watching Hotline Bling. All I was thinking to myself is it's the modern equivalent of Michael Stipe's awkward dancing in Losing My Religion.
Yeah, pretty much. Everyone, if you're successful enough, you can dance like Elaine Bennis. One that I was expecting to cite, and I'm realizing now, I'm remembering that it didn't win, was the Michael Jackson-Janet Jackson duet, Scream. I thought that video was extraordinary, and I think at the time it was famous for being one of the most, or the most expensive video ever made, several million dollars.
It had that record for years.
And it lost to TLC's Waterfalls, which was a good video, but I remember the song Waterfalls better than I remember that video, but the video for Scream was really extraordinary, and it was a really excellent song. That I still remember very fondly.
I think it's also that Waterfalls just had to play. It had to play as a song. People still know Waterfalls. They may remember the video, but they may not know Scream as well. And it was also it was very. From what I remember, the reviews were very mixed on that. At least from this was back when it was voted on as by like journalists and esteemed blue ribbon people. It just, and Waterfall also had gorgeous visuals, and also just it's also a sad music video to watch. You watch it, you kind of want to cry at the end of it. It's very moving.
I think what definitely helped that video, I mean, even though Scream had much more visual effects and much more production value thrown at it, you did have the moment of the CGI of the water at the end of Waterfalls. That's I think helped propel it to victory. We should speak with a caveat. These videos that we're discussing, the voters for these awards probably were not born. They definitely weren't born when Sledgehammer came out.
Sledgehammer was the #1 song the day I was born.
And they might not have been even born when Waterfalls won. That was 1995. We're talking 21-year-olds now.
Yep.
But looking at more recent stuff, I mean, there's not that much, not that many great videos win since they're fan voted. It's usually the popular artists that take it, even if there are other better videos, I would say.
I think probably the last video that was probably like a video that really I'd say Bad Romance, but also Single Ladies. Single Ladies is just, that really was a fantastic music video. That just, it's everything you want it to be. And it just sort of for its simplicity, just sort of elevated it to another level.
So now let's have a little bit more fun. Let's talk about the worst winners of VMA's Video of the Year. We talked about this a little bit before we started recording, and I referenced it a little bit earlier in this slugfest. Was the year of Lady Marmalade. Is that the worst simply by comparison to what it was up against, or is it really just the least remarkable of all of the videos that have ever won, period?
I think both of them. I think both. It's so just basic in terms of what it was, and not to it's like Lady Marmalade with that version with Maya, Pink, Christina Aguilera, and Lil' Kim is great. I'm not disparaging that song. It's awesome. It's just that winning video of the year over the Fatboy Slim's Weapon of Choice, Stand by Eminem, Beautiful Day, Get Your Freak On, just these amazing videos, just it doesn't hold up. And it was just so out of nowhere when that happened at the end of the evening, when Mick Jagger opened up that envelope and said that. I was like so underwhelmed. I was like, wait, what? What?
Yeah, I would give.
It just made no sense.
I would give an honorable mention to Firework by Katy Perry. Not a bad video, but again, it was just kind of your basic inspirational, you can do it anthem that she's literally done like 8 times since then again. And you know, it beat Rolling in the Deep, which ended up winning the Grammy, and it won 3 professional categories, which kind of showed it was the more technically interesting video. Make Some Noise by the Beastie Boys, which won Direction that year. That just, and I was predicting it at the time, but it's just kind of, okay. Like that's the kind of song where the song carried the video, and like, to win a VMA for Video of the Year, you should at least have a video that's memorable on its own terms.
Well, I mean, you know, maybe if only Adele had had fireworks shooting out of her tits, then, you know, it would have been, I gotta say, there are some others that were very underwhelming, like when Lauryn Hill won Video of the Year for Doo Wop That Thing. It's a great video. Still, you know, Korn's Freak on a Leash, you know, if it wasn't, you know, that type of music, it probably would have won. But, you know, Korn's Freak on a Leash to me is emblematic of how you may not be able to stand a song, but a video can just be so amazing to watch that you'll want to see it over and over again. Freak on a Leash, it was such an amazing video to watch. And, you know, you look that there are 4 directors on that video. 2 of them went on to direct Little Miss Sunshine, Jonathan Dayton and Valerie Faris. But then you also had Todd McFarlane, who created the Spawn comics, also was one of the directors on that video. It was just kind of underwhelming. The same the following year when Eminem's Real Slim Shady won over Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which was so amazing to look at. And you could go back to the first VMAs when The Cars won Video of the Year for You Might Think over Thriller, the greatest music video ever made.
Yeah, and by Michael Jackson, who they've named their Lifetime Achievement Award after.
Exactly.
And he lost. That's your Jethro Tull over Metallica right there.
Yeah.
You create a word for a thing,
I mean,
and then you just get it wrong right out of the gate.
Yeah, I mean, it's and then you also have some strange winners, which, you know, you look down the list of artists that have won Video of the Year. I'm pretty sure no one would expect to see Neil Young on that list. Yet there he is for his video, This Note's for You, which MTV wouldn't play for the longest time because of the way it satirized a lot of sponsors on their network.
And that year had Madonna's Like a Prayer, which, I mean, is still iconic to this day. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, well, that one was also had issues with sponsorship as well.
Yeah, and that was the kind of, like, I'm not going to say back in my day when people, but I think when you compare it to something like Kanye West's Famous, Madonna's Like a Prayer was provocative and it was risky, and it felt like it had a point. It has a very clear, like, it's basically like, I mean, you know, it's dealing with some of the same subject matter that Beyonce's Formation is still dealing with. And it's so, it has a point and it has a purpose and it has a story to it that I think holds up in a way that, you know, Madonna was also been written off as this provocateur who is just, you know, kind of sex and controversy. But, you know, Like a Prayer, I think holds up better now than it did then. And so that's the kind of thing that, you know, I sort of wish when musicians were being edgy and controversial, they would be more Like a Prayer, more Formation than Famous.
Well, then we also have the flip side of that. The year after This Note's for You, you had Nothing Compares to You by Sinead O'Connor winning, which I think that was its only win of the evening. But I mean, you still look at that video, that is iconic. It is a beautiful music video. And it was something unlike, of course, Sinead O'Connor was pretty much unlike any other pop act that we had seen before. But still, you know, that video stood out so much that you still look at that and you go, that is a deserving winner. And it's still probably usually ranked as one of the best music videos ever made.
I'm looking down this list. In a lot of these cases, the nominees are more interesting than the winner. You know, even in years with a good winner, I mean, you got you know, the Pearl Jam
I mean,
gem year.
I don't.
That, you know, you had Free Your Mind by En Vogue, and you know you've got Everybody Hurts by REM losing to Crying by Aerosmith. There's so
What's also
ironic by
Sabotage.
Morissette losing to Tonight Tonight.
And,
a lot
Sabotage
of
by
good
the
stuff.
Beastie Boys. Sabotage by the Beastie Boys lost. The other one that, you know, I love the video Work It. The video Work It is a fantastic music video, but Hurt by Johnny Cash, man, that is something else. That is, you know, I rewatch that video usually like at least once a year. I'll be like, I have an actual DVD collection of all of Mark Romanic's music videos, and just watching that it hits on so many different notes, and I'm just like, that should have won.
It really should have. That's one of those winners where, I mean, as good as Missy Elliott is, you can tell that win wasn't about the videos. I mean, you know, we talked about Sledgehammer. Like I talked, you know, saying that's an AFI #1, you know, music video of all time. You know, Hurt by Johnny Cash is top 5 easily.
Yeah,
it's yeah.
That it's haunting in a way that that no other music video I've seen has been. You know, just like a man, just ready, looking back on his life, feeling content with what he's been through, but also saying goodbye. It was so, I mean, that was just on another level of, and I remember when that happened, when the nominations came out, and seeing Johnny Cash on there going, when did this happen? When did they play this on MTV?
Now, what are you hoping for from the ceremony itself? Last year we had Miley Cyrus. I don't know if any host has been announced this year, or if there will be a host. I haven't heard an announcement of that. I'm on the Wikipedia page for the VMAs, and I don't see any mention of a host, which may be a good thing. I mean, maybe Miley Cyrus just soured MTV on just the idea of hosts in general, just the existence of the concept.
They'll go the route of what the Golden Globes used to be.
Which I think the Golden Globes should go back to.
I have not watched the VMAs in several years, actually. I can't remember the last time I actually watched the ceremony. It was probably 2005, 2006, something like that. So it's been a while for me. You know, I just hope for, you know, good unexpected moments, whether or not they play well. I just love unexpected, you know, stuff, or stuff where you go, why is this happening? You know, this is actually a question I wanted to ask you. What's your favorite VMA ceremony you've ever watched? I'm just curious about that.
Oh, it's I'm sort of like you. I'm a sporadic watcher. I watched last year's, and my answer would not be last year's. When I look back at the VMAs, I sort of remember moments more than whole ceremonies. Like I remember, the Britney Madonna kiss. Like, oh my God, what is happening? But yeah, I don't remember too many entire ceremonies. It really does feel like even before the age of social media and viral things, the VMAs have always been kind of, your takeaway moment here, your takeaway moment there. And maybe that's the reason I haven't heard about a host, is because, all you really need are the takeaway moments. And you don't really need anything to sort of tie it all together. Not that Miley Cyrus did that, tied anything together. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm trying to go back and look up who hosted certain, because I might be able to remember things based on hosts. And even then, I'm drawing a blank on some of these. Like Chris Rock, I vaguely remember his hosting.
He hosted 3 times. I thought he did great, because he hosted my favorite one, which was 1999. And that was the year where, because Radio City, where they usually had it, was under renovation. And so they decided to go out with a bang. It's the last one of the millennium set. And it was just so amazing to see. The performances were awesome. You know, even Kid Rock was fun to watch. That's when you know you're going on another level. And you also had weird things with presenters. Buddy Hackett presented there, and with the kids for the Blair Witch Project. And even Chris Rock's like, I have no idea what the hell he's doing here. And the best thing about it was that Buddy Hackett played along with it so well. He just said, he was in a tux, and he said, I know I'm overdressed, but to make up for it, I peed my pants. You know, it just like everything hits so well. And even like Paul McCartney presented Video of the Year, and I'll never forget, he opened the envelope, and him and Madonna, because at first this whole drag queen thing, a parade of drag queens dressed as Madonna from different eras came out. And then Madonna came out, then Paul McCartney, and they're saying, okay, you'll never guess who Video of the Year goes to. It goes to some guy named Lawrence Hill. And everyone's like, wait, what is, wait. It was one of my favorite moments I've ever seen there. It was just a great ceremony.
I do hope, I'll probably be watching this weekend. I do hope it's, and I like the unusual. I even liked Kanye West's speech last year when he announced he was running for president, and little did we know how much better that would be than what we were ending up with. You know, I'd vote for Kanye over Trump.
I'm already
in a heartbeat.
I'm already volunteering to have my apartment used as a field office in 4 years.
And maybe that's why he was being strategic. Like maybe he saw Trump coming. He's like, in 4 years, I'm not gonna look so crazy once all is said and done. You're gonna be like, he's making some kind of sense now.
I just would love to see him do a town hall at a VFW hall or something like that. I just want to see him like.
What I hope not to see is another staged Taylor Swift makeup with whatever celebrity she's feuding with. So like I remember last year, like they brought her out with Nicki Minaj, and Nicki Minaj really got the better of her in that feud. So they did this whole kiss and makeup sort of thing, and then Nicki Minaj feuded with Miley Cyrus. And I think Nicki Minaj got the better of her there too. So yeah, just none of those reality show kind of fake huggy, kissy, oh, it's a moment where they're making up. So like don't have.
You want a moment. The VMAs used to be great at delivering moments that were just like you could feel the tension, and everything was, and even if you know, it would just be awesome. I always think of one of the great moments was when Milton Berle and RuPaul presented together in like 1992, 1993, something like that. And it was, oh God, the hatred that Milton Berle had for the zingers that RuPaul was getting was so great, especially when she said, oh, you used to wear dresses, now you wear diapers. It was just like, oh God, it was so great.
Speaking of uncomfortable presenters, of course, there was Diana Ross and Lil' Kim. Oh
my God, that was just nuts.
Yeah, that moment.
Oh my God.
Honestly, I can't blame her. If you're Diana Ross and that dress, that costume really comes out, you know, next to you, you're just like, what's going on there? You're just sort of curious, investigating.
Well, that's the one place where security can't do anything, you know?
What are you going to pull Diana Ross off stage?
And Mary J. Blige was just there. Remember, she was on stage too? And she was just kind of there like, okay, this is happening now.
Yeah, I think
oh God. How could we forget also the Michael Jackson, Lisa Marie Presley? Oh, whoa.
You fell down remembering it.
Yes, that was just like the most, oh my God, just the look on her face and the hands like, oh God, this is, oh, stop it.
Yeah, I feel like the problem is when an award show, especially the VMAs, which are known for their provocative moments, tries really hard to set those up in advance, when those things only really happen when they're not expected. Because they're only, like, you can smell a canned kind of controversy or shocker, you know, from a mile away. They're so badly telegraphed. So when it's actually uncomfortable, when it's actually weird and strange and unusual and messed up, you can feel it.
Rage Against the Machine. Remember the Rage Against the Machine moment?
Oh, remind me.
The 2000 VMAs, I can't remember. It wasn't Tom Morello, but it was one of the other guys from Rage Against the Machine. Best rock video was being presented, and the guys from Rage Against the Machine were nominated, but they looked over, and this isn't an award show with one of the split screens, so they have the camera already on the winner, and they saw the cameras were already pointed at Limp Bizkit, and one of the guys from Rage Against the Machine was like, "Oh, damn it, Limp Bizkit's winning this. That just sucks. I wish there was something I could do." And the guy who had directed their video, which happened to be Michael Moore, was sitting next to him, and he said, "Oh, you should just rush the stage." And so as Limp Bizkit gets up on stage, he gets up and starts climbing the set piece up on top and just starts rocking it back and forth. Actually, they had to stop the ceremony for like 15 to 20 minutes trying to get him down, at which point he was arrested by NYPD. And no one had any idea what was going on or why it was happening until afterwards. It was just one of those, like, no one had any clue what was going on. And it was just one of those great live television moments.
Yeah, I think, talking about Raging Against the Machine, I was reminded suddenly of the Fiona Apple speech when she won, Best New Artist, for, like, the "This Is Bullshit" speech, which, honestly, in hindsight, she probably wasn't wrong. And in the years that have followed, I mean, she hasn't stayed at the top level of MTV generation kind of popularity. She's not topping the charts, the same way. I think as an artist, she's grown and evolved, and she's one of the best singer-songwriters currently working. So I feel like she's been vindicated.
I don't blame her at all. I mean, she's an artist that's always been about doing her own thing. And she's definitely held herself to that standard. So, more power to her for that.
It's hard to believe. I think she was like 19, 20 years old. She got her start young, and she's only in her like late 30s, early 40s at this point. I don't feel like she's changed that much in a good way, in that sense, that she's still very much, she's content to do her own thing the way she wants to do it, regardless of how many people are paying attention and why. And she ends up doing some of the best work I've ever listened to.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you have that attitude, of course you're going to have your album title be 99 words long, but no.
Which I memorized, by the way. And it's been a while. I'm gonna try it now. This will be very entertaining for our viewers. This is me. Consider this my Kanye West famous 10-minute indulgence. Let me see if I can remember. When the pawn hits the conflicts, he thinks like a king. What he knows throws the blows. When he gets to the fight, and he'll win the whole thing before he enters the ring. There's nobody to batter when your mind is your might. So when you go solo, you hold your own hand, and remember that depth is the greatest of heights. So if you know where you stand, then you'll know where you land, and if you fall, it won't matter because you'll know that you're right. I probably got some of those wrong, but that's the general gist.
Congratulations on that one.
Thank you. One of the best albums I've ever heard. You'll be happy to know I didn't extend that to the Idler Wheel. I didn't memorize that entire title.
I mean, I remember it being on all the top 10 lists that year, and of course they would just abbreviate it, When the Pawn, and that was it.
Yeah, which, I mean, she might as well have just called it that. In hindsight, she could have put the poem in the liner notes and then just said, When the Pawn, ... Everyone's gonna call it that anyway.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the VMAs, I hope for something, you know, I hope for just a good ceremony and hopefully something spontaneous, but, you know, nothing that's like too put together.
I hope so too. And with that, I think that's a good hour and a half discussion. This has been so. Thank you so much for joining me, Charlie. Thank you, everyone who has made it this far. Both of you, if any. We honestly
Hi,
could have said anything
Mom.
at this point. We will let's reconvene after the VMAs. We can talk about what happened and why. I'm sure more wise. And thank you so much for watching. We will see you then.